part 3 of the Horde logo tutorial here. We set up the camera, so we have to worry about lighting and materials and shading. Okay, and that should kind of take care of it. So first things first is we got to download all our materials for this. I'm going to launch my browser here, and while that thing is loading, so cc0textures.com for free textures, and we're going to look at two different things here. If you remember the photo, it says this kind of metal damage kind of stuff, and then the background, it's kind of like this blood red with kind of like a texture in the back, more like a concrete kind of stuff. So let's start with that concrete. So let's see. All right, so we just want that kind of unevenness in the back. So we don't want it looking very processed. Okay, so let's see. I might go with this one or that one, whichever is less busy. Let's go with this. Okay, I think I used the last one. I'm going to download a 4K here, and depending on what you guys are download, I mean your computer capability, 2K would be not so bad, depending on how big your export is. So 2K if your computer's struggling, 8K if you got a beefy machine, 4K for me, it should be good for demoing. Okay, that one's metal. And again, for the metal, we're just kind of looking at some kind of damaged metal. Maybe this one would work. Let's take a look if there's anything more that's this one probably would work. Let's look at the other one. They're more like brush. Okay, I mean, this would work unless you go with like more patterned one. Okay, just want less pattern, so click this one. 4K as well. Okay, so those we're going to start downloading. I'm going to go back to Blender here. Okay, so let's start the lighting first. Let's take a look about the let's look into the environment first. So we have a default light, whether we like it or not. We got one right there. So I'm going to go switch to Eevee mode right here. Okay, so Eevee, the fourth sphere, gives you what you see is what you get. Okay, right here. This is exactly what it's going to look like. Okay, if I go to the first tab, second tab, it looks like a DSLR camera or a SLR camera back. The render engine we're using is Eevee. Okay, there's another render engine that we use is Cycles. So Cycles gives you a more realistic look. Okay, Eevee is real time, so it can look realistic at some capacity, but Cycles will definitely give you that correct bounce look and all that. Okay, but there's a big difference. Sometimes, depending on your computer, rendering in Eevee would take a split second. Rendering in Cycles would take 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, depending on what you want to do. Okay, so we're going to switch this back to Eevee. But before we can start visualizing everything, we would need to turn on everything that we need for our Eevee. Okay, so guys, this would be something that you would want to do for each time you render now. So we're getting to a process where you submit homework and project and you are expected to have all these things turned on. Okay, so when we're using Eevee engine, remember ambient occlusion should be on. Bloom is questionable at this point. There could be more bloom, less bloom, but let's turn it on anyway. Screen space reflection, definitely this one right here, and then there's more stuff here that you can turn on, but for now let's look into shadows. You want high bit depth on your shadow at least right here. Okay, all right, so if you remember this setting right here, this would be what we want in Eevee. Okay, viewport denoising should be turned on, so that would get rid of all the noise or those tiny dots that you see on the screen. Renders what's actually going to be rendered, so 64 might be good enough for this project. 16 is what you're seeing here. If you have an excellent computer, you might want to match this too, so you see what you see is what you get. Okay, so I'm going to leave that 16 because visual difference for me, it's quite minimal at this point. All right, so that's what we're looking at the light. So if I move this light here closer to the front, as you can see, it's getting very moody and dramatic already. Okay, we don't want this light. We want something like an area light, because the original photo has that kind of soft shadow and whatnot. So I'm just going to just delete this light. Okay, but as you can see, even though there's no light, you see what's happening here? You get to see something. Okay, that's because the world is not pure black right here. So if I drag this to pure black, you see nothing. So this is no bounce light. There's no ambient light. Okay, so this is what we want to start with, so we can properly set up our light. So let's get a light in here. So I'm gonna do Shift A, light, and then area light. All right, so there's our area light. It's kind of working already. So I'm gonna move this up in here. I'm sorry, I missed it. Area light. Let's move this a little bit out like so, and move it up. All right, so there's that kind of moody lighting that we want. Okay, like I said, the original photo, it's not as moody as this one, because I forgot to lower this to 75. So I'm gonna scale this one. So this light right now is 10 watts. The reason why 10 watts you could actually see something is because what we did is the photo that that we were kind of tracing, it's very small. So yeah, so I can scale this light, kind of changes the spread a bit. Okay, so you don't want that too low, because you see it cut off, like it looks like there's a box right there. Okay, so let me go, let's boost that to about 20. Ooh, it's a little too much, so let's go 15. Okay, for now that's good. Another thing we can do with our light is with shadow, very important here, turn on contact shadow. Okay, so you get the contact shadow. A lot of this crazy stuff that's kind of spread right here is basically your soft shadow. So let's take a look what this really looks like. We render it. Let's go render image. This will just give you as a preview. All right, so as you can see, the rendered result looks very different from my previewing, right? That's my fault for not having an NVIDIA card, I think. All right, so let me increase the thickness a little bit. Let's see if that matters, from 0.2 to 0.5. Do another render image. Just want to make sure we get a little bit cleaner. I think that we can get away with that one. Okay, there's a lot of tweaking here that you can do to kind of soften that a little bit, especially with our Eevee right here. With the shadow, you can bump this up. You can change your threshold. You can, you know, in a way like natural vignette it, and then you can turn up soft shadow. So that's all you get right there would be the harsh shadow if you want it super moody, dramatic. But I think we can leave that in there. You increase your memory also, your pixel size on that one, but that affects performance. Okay, so really simple lighting. That's what we're gonna do. Next, what we want is our material. So, okay, so I'm gonna select this background right here. I'm gonna save this one as part 3 now. So let's see, save as part 3. So it'll kind of overlap all of those. Okay. All right, so we got part 3. I'm gonna go to shading, right? I'm sorry, UV editing first. Okay, so first thing is we just want to make sure that's from a plane, so that's just square right there. Okay, let's take a look at our object right here, our logo itself. Okay, let's take a look. I'm gonna press A to select everything, and as you can see, Blender still thinks this came from a plane, so it will not know how to apply that particular metal material that we downloaded. So I'm gonna go here and press 1, go to front. Okay, and right here I'm gonna turn off my overlays a bit so you can see just that one. Okay, so what I want is just to project this from this front view. Okay, so unwrap it. So usually when we do our unwrap, we do our smart UV, give it a little island, so on and so forth. Okay, watch this. I'm just going to go projection from view. There you go. So if I select here and scale this a bit to use most of that material right there, almost edge to edge, and as you can see, everything that we're going to use on the material, everything's kind of spread already. Okay, gonna be a little bit of a streak right there, but then that's a small bevel. Okay, so next is the side. Okay, because you can see it did not become part of it. So I'm going to select all this, alt click all the way around, and this one alt shift click. So this is all the stuff from the side. As you can see, since we projected it from view, Blender still thinks it's still from view and it's just paper thin. Okay, we're not going to get any textures from that one. However, we're not really going to see the side because our camera, again, it's positioned from, but you know, let's fix this. So we can easily just press U to unwrap this to see what Blender did. So I tried to unwrap it and then actually put it. Actually, this will actually work. Okay, I mean, you can make it a little bit more flatter if you want. You can go per side, since if you want this kind of looking, depending on the texture, because we're kind of doing a randomized texture right there. So I think this will work for our need. Okay, so now we can go to shading. Okay, we can go to shading right here and then start our material. So let me go with the background first, and I'm using look tab right here. We can also go to a realistic one. Okay, right there on the Eevee. Okay, let me go to my downloads. That's where those things went, and I got concrete right here. Okay, and let's take a look. So this is the color one. That's the normal map, and that's probably the roughness map. Let's take a look. I'm just going to go verticalist here so I get to see their names. Color. So this is the... Oh, sorry. I got to give this one a material first. So click new. With the plain selected background, click new. Okay. This is definitely not metallic, and we don't want it... well, roughness, we have a map, so... All right, I'm going to go here. Drag the base color. Oh, sorry. Zoom out a bit, connect it. Okay, that's what it looks like, but we don't want that. Okay, we want it kind of like red, so we don't even need the base color for this. So I just want to kind of show you what that pattern looks like. So what we want is, I'm going to delete that one, give it a red, dark red color. Okay, more on the orangey side of red. Okay, now what we want is to add a normal map. This is, again, will create that kind of bumpy look to it, the textured look. So based on your lesson, you should know how to do this now. We can't connect color directly to normal because that's yellow to purple. We're going to need a node, add a new node, vector, normal map. We plug color to color, then normal to normal, and then we make sure the color space on this one is non-color. Okay, there you have it. Okay, this is just strength at 1. Let's take a look. I think I like that already. Just gave it that textured look. Let's increase it or decrease it. Okay, I'm gonna stick with 1 for now. Okay, looks good. All right, so as far as that one goes, that's done. Okay, we can add a roughness to that if we want. Let's go here. Okay, plug that directly to the roughness map, and let's see. Probably did do much because we got to put a control map in there, but for our purpose, it's simply for that textured look in the back. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Okay, let's add a material. This one we know for sure we want metallic, so I'm going to drag that all the way to 1. Keep in mind it's either 0 or 1 of this. Okay, let's add our color. Metal, that's the color map. Let's drag it in here, drag it to base color. All right, so there's that. Super shiny because we do have half of roughness right there. Let's get the normal map going. Okay. And again, same thing, vector, normal map. Connect your... All right. That made it super dark because of the strength on this one. Oh, sorry, forgot. Non-color. There we go. Okay, and then you can make that too much. Okay, I'm gonna go 1.2 maybe. All right, it's good enough for now. So it has some variation in there. This one comes with metalness. Metalness simply means, hey, instead of just dragging metal into 0 or 1, why don't we plug something where only the metal part should look like metal? Okay, and as you can see, you can't really tell from there how that kind of works. Then we can put a color ramp to that one. Okay, so let's make that non-color. All right, all the we shouldn't get any metalness on anything that's supposed to be rusted. That's the whole point of that one. Okay, and I think we are good with this. We can also do our color ramp. Okay, I'm going to put a converter here, put a color ramp in between this. Let's take a look if we can perceive the metalness a little bit. But very subtle, because again, it's already a map that's separating all that stuff. So, you know, so let's do one more. Let's do our roughness. I'm just going to put it out here so it doesn't, because I don't have to shrink any of that stuff. So you'll get the idea that this thing will connect all the way here to the roughness and controls it. Change that to non-color. Okay, as you can see here, it's just kind of cool actually, but might be a little too much. Okay, so let's get our converter, color ramp. All right. All right, so definitely you can tell which part you want kind of shiny and whatnot. So any of that darker part would have a little bit more shininess to it. I mean, you can tell it right there. It's not on this one. I think I'll leave it to that one. So let's press 0 here. Let's take a look at our logo. There it is, kind of very moody. A little dark right here, so it's all shining from the top. And I think I'll go with this one. So I'm going to save this. Okay. And I'm going to render it. So render image. I'll just do one photo. Okay, there it is. And of course, the output for our render would be 1080, 1080. Let me do a, let's say a 4K one. So I'm just going to do a times asterisk 4. Yeah, sorry, that's 8K. No, we don't want 8K. So that's 4096, right? So 1920 asterisk times 2, 3840 by 2160. So I'll just do times 2 there, 2160. So this is a 4K output now. Let's see, render image. Yeah, so you can see it much bigger. All right, computer's done. Okay, so I can just go to image right here, save a copy. It'll be a PNG, so we'll go here and put Horde logo, Eevee, that, and 4K. So we know it was rendered in Eevee, and then the resolution is 4K. I'm gonna save it. Okay, I'm not going to render a cycles version, but I want to show you what happens. I will cancel it, that means. So if I switch my engine to cycles, okay, this one will give you a little bit more realistic look, but look at the render penalty here. All right. You might be able to wait for it. Let's see. Get that YouTube monetization going. No, I'm just kidding. All right, you can tell here it's going to do another pass because it'll have to denoise everything after. Okay, so it'll give you a very close look to Eevee. Actually, Eevee is an excellent engine. Okay, so I'm just gonna press escape to kind of just so that you'll know that there's a difference between the two. This one being more realistic, but look at Eevee, it's real time and it's looking pretty good. All right, so let's take a look at that final result again. Let me just double click it. Oh, this is the one I previously this is the one we were copying actually. Okay, and then let's take a look. Horde logo Eevee. There we go. All right, so and there it is. Okay, so that ends the tutorial and part 3. Thanks guys for watching.